So in order to rehead a tabla, you need a certain amount of tools and a proper space to do it in. The first tools you'll need is a good rope to tie the head and the ring in place. Second, also you need a hook. This is an optional tool but extremely helpful. Just a hook that you can get under the straps and pull the straps with so that you save your fingers once the straps become tight. A wire cutter so you can trim the tips of your strap up to keep your point sharp and also to make the ring with. Pliers will help you to pull the strap through the head when it becomes tight and there's just and you can't grab it with your fingers. Screwdriver. This is a sharpened screwdriver that I use. It's a Phillips head, but I've ground it down, and this is to pry open the holes on the head if they're too tight to get the strap through. Also to help lift the ring at the bottom to slide the strap underneath. Tabla hammer, vinyl tuning. Thread. This is a relatively thin piece of sewing machine thread that I use to lift the kinar up on the finished product of the tabla. It opens it up and gives you more sustain on your knob. To protect your hands, I usually have two pairs of gloves. One pair of gloves is in good shape on fingers all the way up. It protects your fingers for the lacing and your first pull. Once you get to a finer tuning pull, I use the second pair of gloves with the index finger on the right hand cut off so that you can actually play na and get a sense of the pitch. And so those are the tools you will need. Also, I use a piece of styrofoam to protect the gob from the lacing or the rope as you tie it on for tying on the ring and the head. There's two major styles of shell that you would use that you'll find in tabla. First style is a Bombay style. This is a heavy rosewood, dark rosewood piece of wood. Has a little sapwood on the outside, but it's not into the chamber, so it's not a big deal. This is actually a really nice piece of wood. You'll notice the Bombay heads or shells are machined out. They're cut out with a very even, smooth layer on the inside that goes down about 2/3 of the way. When you're checking your shell, you want to make sure there's no cracks that run up into the chamber on the inside. So if you look at it, you shouldn't be able to see daylight from the inside of the shell. Also, it's a few cracks in the foot of the drum is okay, not preferable, but not terminal. Any crack that runs up into the rim there is something that you want to think about getting a different shell. Also, you want to check your rim should be relatively perfectly circular. If it's egg-shaped or flat on one edge, you're going to have a hard time getting a balance even, and it's not going to go into tune. The other type of shell is a Calcutta shell. This is a shisham shell. It's nice hardwood. It's not as dark or heavy as the rosewood, but also perfectly good wood for tablas. This one has been chiseled out, so if you look on the inside, you can see that they've used a gouge and they chisel out the chamber there. Also goes about 2/3 of the way down, and the bottom is very rough. Sometimes they're even burned at the bottom there. These are also just fine. They have a slightly different sound between the chamber of the machined one and the chiseled one. Again, you want to check to make sure that the top is round is one of the most important things, and that you have a nice heavy hard shell with a good foot on the bottom. So anything like one of these is fine. As far as heads go, there's two major kinds. Again, Calcutta. The Calcutta is has a very white, clean skin. They're generally very thin, almost paper thin skin they use. Also, the gobs are very light and they have a more refined look. They have more rings generally, and they're more circular with a high shine on the gob. The braid that goes around is less heavy duty than a Bombay one, and often they'll have this checkered braid here. The checker, the second part, has no actual effect on the drum, so whether or not it has that is not as important as the quality of the gob and also the quality of the skin. The other style is Bombay. Bombay has a thicker, heavier gob generally. It's more resilient, more heavy duty, but sometimes not quite as bright sounding, and the skin is also a lot thicker. The braid around the outside is thicker, so overall a more heavy duty head. They can take a lot more abuse, but they're sometimes not as crisp and bright sounding, especially in the beginning, but they do improve over time. So those are the two major styles of heads. Another thing you want to look for is strap. In the strap, you want to make sure your strap is not too thick, but not too thin. Thick strap will be very hard to get through the holes in the head and hard to work with. Thin strap will stretch out a lot and break as you get it up to tension. So you want to have a relatively even thickness. The length of the strap that you need is at least 35 feet. So it has to be able to go up and down to the bottom of the drum at 16 times around there. So in a drum, averagely is about a little more than a foot. So you need to get at least 35 feet to be able to work with it easily. Next thing you need to do is make your ring. Okay, next thing we need to do is make the ring, or the gudry. This is for the bottom of the shell. You want to make sure you have enough strap to wrap around the foot 3 times and enough left over to tie a knot. This will be plenty. Don't cut this off of your 35 feet. This needs to be an extra strap. First thing you want to do is fold over about 1.5 inches at the outside of one of them, one edge. With your wire cutters, cut a slit into the fold and go in about 3/4 of an inch. That'll give you 1.5 inches total opening. And take your other end and lace it through your opening. You want to put that through 3 times. And then adjust it to the size of the foot of the tabla. The fit you want, this is too big. This will tend to run off to one side or the other. So the fit you're looking for is snug enough that that it doesn't want to move off, that there's not too much left over for it to move off to one side, but also not so tight that you can't get the strap underneath it. So generally somewhere between 1/8 and 3/16 of an inch on every side, all around. There's 2 major kinds of knot for this type of gudry. One you would bring underneath into the circle, back out, and under it here. This leaves kind of a large knot there, which is kind of a pain to get your straps to be even over. So I actually prefer, if the strap is strong enough, to use another method, which is once you have your size exactly set, pull your end through another 1 inch or so, and then with your wire cutters, cut a barb in the side of the strap. And don't cut more than halfway through the width of the strap. Send that back about 3/4 of an inch. And then pull the barb into the opening in the slit in the strap. And that gives a nice low profile join there that you can easily put your strap over, and it doesn't leave a wide spot in the spacing of your strap later on when you're tying up the tabla.